I'm Jennifer Hayes. I'm 32. Tonight was my parents' 35th. A hall of laughter, glasses, glittering smiles. 2 hours from Seattle, I carried hope. Maybe, just tonight, we'd feel like family. I fixed my dress. I rehearsed breathing. Have you ever faced something like this? Tell me in the comments. Dad rose first, voice big and bright. To our daughter, he boomed, glass lifted. Faces turned toward me like spotlights. His eyes skipped past me. They landed on my sister's paint-stained jeans. She's our heart, he beamed, glowing. Then his smile cooled like steel. And her, his finger cut the air. This family got nothing from her. 60 eyes burned through my skin. Mom nodded. My sister looked away. I swallowed, stood, and walked out. I wasn't nothing. I was a fuse. They lit it. I exploded later. Sometimes betrayal starts quietly. Mine began in childhood. My sister, Amanda, the golden one. Her laughter filled rooms. Mine barely echoed. Dad called her his little spark. Mom said she'd paint the world. And me? I was the helper. The one who cleaned, fixed, obeyed. Every photo, every praise had her in it. At my 10th birthday, I remember the candles. Only 5, Mom forgot to buy more. Amanda blew them out before I could. Everyone laughed. I smiled because that's what I did best. Pretend it didn't hurt. Pretend I didn't care. That night, Dad gave her my gift, a new sketchbook he'd promised me. She'll use it more, he said. I never forgot those words. In high school, things didn't change. I brought home straight A's. Amanda won an art contest with a messy sunset. They framed it in the living room. My diploma? It ended up in a drawer. Mom said, grades are just paper. Art is soul. Each word carved into me like glass. I learned early how to disappear. At dinner, I'd stay quiet, counting their smiles. When Amanda failed college classes, Dad covered for her. When I got accepted to a top university, he said, don't expect us to brag about it. People might think we favor you. Favor me? That never happened. Still, I tried. I called every week, sent gifts, drove home for holidays, hoping someday they'd see me. But love from them was a door that never opened. Years later, I graduated with honors. They didn't come. Amanda had a small exhibition that same day, and of course, they went there instead. I sat alone at the ceremony, the applause around me hollow. That night, I told myself it didn't matter. I was used to being invisible. But the thing about invisibility is, one day, it becomes your power. After college, I packed everything into a small car and drove to Seattle. No goodbye party, no speech from Dad. Just my mother's quick hug and a, call us if you need anything. I didn't. I'd already learned not to. Seattle was gray and loud, but it was mine. I found a small apartment with peeling paint and started my first job as a junior software engineer. The office was cold, full of men who doubted my voice, but I stayed late every night. If they were leaving at 6, I left at 10. Coffee, code, silence, that was my rhythm. Slowly, my name began appearing on successful projects. The first time my boss said, "Good work, Jennifer," I went home and cried. Not because of pride, because someone finally saw me. Every milestone I reached, I sent home an update. They barely replied. When Amanda's art got a small feature in a local magazine, Dad posted about it everywhere. When I got promoted, he didn't even like the post. Still, I sent money. It started with small things. Groceries, repairs, bills. Then my mom called one night, her voice trembling. They were behind on the mortgage. I wired $8,000 that same night. She said, "Thank you," then hung up. No warmth, no pride, just relief. A year later, Amanda lost her studio lease. She called crying, saying her dream would die without help. I transferred another $2,000. She didn't even say thanks, Just texted a heart emoji. I told myself family was worth it. I was wrong. Still, I kept going. Work became my escape, my silent rebellion. Every line of code I wrote was proof I existed outside their shadow. Within 3 years, I was leading my own team. A local tech magazine featured my story, from small town to software star. Mom didn't mention it. Dad sent a photo of Amanda's new mural instead. "Isn't she incredible?" he wrote. I didn't reply. But something shifted after that. I stopped craving their approval. Instead, I poured everything into myself: savings, therapy, growth, peace. I bought my first car with my own cash. I traveled alone to Oregon's coast, stood by the roaring sea, and realized I'd built a life without them even noticing. When coworkers talked about family visits, I smiled and said, maybe next time. But deep down, I knew my family only called when the bills piled up or Amanda failed again. I became their quiet provider, the invisible backbone holding their comfort together. Still, I hoped one day they'd look at me and see more than a bank account. I hoped the sacrifices would matter. That hope kept me giving, until it became exhaustion wearing human skin. They didn't know it yet, but the girl they'd ignored was building her own empire in silence. Top of form, bottom of form. Success changes people, they say. But sometimes it just reveals the truth. By 30, I was leading a full software team, earning more than I'd ever dreamed. Daniel and I had moved in together, a small apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind that caught Seattle's soft rain. Life was steady, peaceful, almost beautiful. Then Mom called. Her voice trembled, practiced and gentle. "Sweetheart, we're planning our 35th anniversary." Just something small. Small meant extravagant in her language. I offered to help organize, not fund it. But a week later, an email arrived, a catering invoice with my name on it. $6,000. When I called, Dad laughed. "You earned 6 figures, Jennifer." Don't be selfish. The words hit harder than he knew. Still, I paid. Because that's what I did. I carried them. The night of the party felt heavy from the start. The hall shimmered with gold lights, music floating through the air like false joy. I told myself, just smile. I'd already sent money for the venue, Amanda's new dress, even the cake. All I wanted was a few words, a nod, some acknowledgement. Instead, Dad's toast sliced me open. "To our daughter," he said, raising his glass. Pride filled his voice. For a second, I thought maybe, but then his gaze drifted past me. "To the one who always shines bright, Amanda." Applause thundered. Then his tone changed, colder, crueler. "And her," he pointed straight at me. "This family has never gotten a thing from her." Silence. Every face turned my way. Amanda's smile faltered, but she said nothing. Mom nodded, pretending it wasn't cruel. Something inside me cracked. I wanted to scream, to list every dollar. Every night I'd worked myself numb for them. Instead, I smiled, stood, and left. Outside, the air bit sharp. 60 pairs of eyes still burned in my head. I drove home through rain that blurred everything. By the time I reached Seattle, my body was shaking, not from cold, from 6 years of buried exhaustion. Daniel met me at the door. He didn't ask, he just listened. When I told him what Dad said, he clenched his jaw. "They erased you, Jen," he said quietly. "You don't owe them silence." His words stuck. All those years, I'd bought love that never came. Maybe it was time to stop paying. I opened my laptop. Instagram. My fingers trembled as I typed. 6 years, $48,000 for their mortgage. $35,000 for bills. $10,000 for my sister's studio. And tonight, they said I gave them nothing. I hit post. For the first time in my life, my truth wasn't hidden in someone else's shadow. I thought that post would free me. I didn't know it would burn everything down. Top of form, bottom of form. By morning, my phone was a war zone. 30 missed calls. 15 from Mom, 10 from Dad, 5 from Amanda. Voicemails stacked one after another. Rage, panic, guilt. I didn't open a single one. The restaurant wanted payment. The bank froze their mortgage. Amanda's studio lease was canceled. Their world was unraveling, a world built on my quiet sacrifices. They finally felt the weight I'd carried for years. By noon, the texts changed tone. From anger to begging. Please call us, Jennifer. We can fix this. Don't ruin the family. I stared at the messages, heart pounding but steady. For once, I wasn't the one scrambling. When Amanda finally called, I answered. Her voice shook. The gallery dropped me, she said. You knew how much this meant. You ended my career. Her sobs hit through the static. I took a slow breath. Figure it out, Amanda, I said. I've been figuring it out for 6 years. Her voice cracked. You don't mean that, but I did. I hung up before she could say more. Hours later, a knock rattled my door. Daniel looked up from the couch. You ready for this? He asked quietly. I nodded. When I opened it, my parents stood there, faces drawn, pride stripped away. Mom's voice trembled. We need to talk. Dad's tone was harder. You went too far. They stepped inside, bringing years of manipulation with them. I stood still, arms crossed. Mom started, We're sorry about the toast. It was a misunderstanding. Dad nodded quickly. You're blowing this out of proportion. We didn't mean it like that. Their excuses spilled out like rehearsed lines. I let them talk until silence returned. Then I spoke. 6 years, I said. 147,000 mortgage bills studio party. You called me nothing. My voice didn't shake. Mom's eyes widened. Dad's jaw tightened. You're too sensitive, he snapped. Family helps each other. You can't just walk away. I met his stare. I did help, for 6 years, alone. Mom's tears fell, but they weren't for me. They were for their crumbling comfort. I'm done, I said quietly. You'll have to stand on your own now. Dad's face hardened. You'll regret this. I stepped aside, opening the door. Maybe, I said. But that regret will be mine, not yours. They hesitated, then left. The door clicked shut behind them, and the silence that followed felt holy. For the first time, I wasn't the daughter begging to be seen. I was the woman reclaiming her worth. Daniel wrapped his arms around me. You did it, he whispered. I exhaled, feeling the storm finally pass. They came to remind me who I used to be. But I reminded them who I'd become. 2 weeks passed before I heard from Amanda again. A short text, can we talk? We met at a small coffee shop on 5th. She looked smaller somehow, quieter. No bright colors, no easy charm. I didn't realize how much you did for us, she whispered. Her hands shook around her cup. I got used to it, to you fixing everything. I wanted to believe her. But truth doesn't erase damage, it only exposes it. You'll figure it out, I told her softly. You're talented, remember? Just without me this time. Her eyes welled up, she nodded and left. That was the last time I saw her. Months turned into seasons. Silence became peace. I focused on work, on Daniel, on life. My parents sold their house, the one my money saved. Amanda took a job at a cafe, serving lattes instead of painting. And me? I finally started living. A year later, under soft string lights in a small garden, I said I do. Only 20 friends surrounded us. No family, no ghosts from the past. Just laughter, music, and the scent of lavender. Daniel's hand was warm in mine, steady and sure. In that moment, I understood. Blood had built my pain, but love had built my peace. As the night faded, I looked at the people who stayed. The ones who showed up. They were my real family. Not by blood, but by choice. I had carried the old version of me for years, the one begging to be seen. Now she could finally rest. If you've ever been unseen, you're not alone. Sometimes walking away isn't cruel, it's survival. Family isn't who shares your name. It's who stays when everything breaks. I stopped saving them and saved myself instead. Subscribe for more stories like mine. And tell me, would you have walked away too?